What's going on, everybody? I am Perry White. I'm the host of the Jaguar Journal. I want to make sure that you guys tune in live each and every Saturday morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on 107.3 FM. We also have our affiliates in Alexandria, Louisiana, as well as down in New Orleans. And if you're not able to catch us on radio live, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as follow us on Facebook. It's the Jaguar Journal.
Opinionated, outspoken, informative. The Jaguar Journal. Your source for the latest information on Southern University sports and SWAC athletics. A Baton Rouge sports talk tradition.
All right, bright and early on a Saturday morning, it is the Jaguar Journal. Good morning to everybody out there listening on 107.3 FM around the Baton Rouge capital city area. Glad to have you guys with us, and everybody out there watching on our Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Good morning to you. Hope you guys had a great week, and guess what? You can continue to keep up with the Jaguar Journal outside of our Facebook and YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Be sure to type in the Jaguar Journal, and if you haven't followed us on social media, aside from Facebook, go to our X and Instagram. Type in on X and Instagram, Jaguar Journal _. And if you're just out there listening, you want to follow us on Facebook and YouTube, type in Jaguar Journal. Go hit that like and subscribe button on our Facebook and YouTube channel. It costs nothing. It's free. I don't need your social security number, your birth certificate. I don't need your new ID. I don't need none of that. I just need your support as we continue to grow this thing. And you can also find the Jaguar Journal in the link tree, and that'll give you the link to all of where we're at across the world on social media and everything else, man. Hope you guys had a good week. It is springtime. It is starting to warm up. The weather is beautiful. Festival season. Hope everybody getting ready. I know the crawfish boils are rolling. I smell it in the air on the weekends. It's Easter at that. So if you're into the whole religion thing, you know, everybody's going to be dappered down for church tomorrow. The baby's going to be giving their Easter speeches, and eggs are high. Y'all doing Easter egg hunts? Y'all dyeing eggs this year? The eggs are a little expensive. If the last time you went to the store, the eggs aren't the same price as they were last year. All right, so it may alter some things, right? You just get those I forgot what they call it. You just pop them open and put some candy in them. Yeah, you can do those eggs. They go to the store, Dollar Tree or something, they least expensive. You just pop it open. Or, if the kid's been really good, put a couple dollars in there for them. Hide that thing somewhere and let them come find it. But, happy holidays to everyone. I know people are traveling. People are with their families this weekend. It's a beautiful weekend to do it as we're getting ready for spring. We're already in it. Baseball is rolling. I'm going to talk about baseball on the next segment. Southern is up in Pine Bluff this weekend, taking on the Golden Lions, and I'm not too pleased at the results I've been seeing. I put it on social media, and I've got a lot of response back. I'm not pleased of the results that I'm getting, but we'll break it down. We'll look at the standings around the conference. And aside from that, we're going to have great conversations today as we're going to welcome our man Dawson Odums, former Southern University head football coach. He's going to be here on the show with us. We're going to talk about NIL and how it's changing the landscape of college athletics. I know you guys have seen the stories week in and week out in terms of what you've been seeing when it comes to student athletes asking for things and what they want. And what is this world starting to look like in terms of college athletics when it comes to NIL? Aside from that, Southern University had a spring football game last week, so we're going to definitely recap the spring football game. We're going to have offensive coordinator Mark Frederick's going to come on, talk to us about the offense, and defensive coordinator Coach Henry Miller talk to us about the defense. I know you guys are interested. I didn't get a chance to make the spring game. My son had a soccer tournament last week in Houston, so I left it to you guys to tell me about it. So you guys can call in 225-499-1073 is the number. Once again, 225-499-1073 is the number. If you want to call in, tell me what you saw. You know, give me some idea of what we look like. I've been to the practice, which scrimmage ain't nothing more than a glorified practice. We're just going to run some reps. We're going to go through the motion. I'm going to give you a little bit of ooh and ah, and then the rest is just making sure guys are just learning the system and executing the plays. But, I'm not going to show you my hand. It's like spades. Y'all know how to play dominoes. You don't never show nobody what's in your hand. You're secretive about it. I do just enough to put it out there for you to understand that I at least know how to play. But for everything else in terms of the strategy, I don't get out of the way. You will see that when it comes in the fall for game day. So right now, if you guys had a chance to go check it out, I'm sure as I look around the country, spring games weren't that big this year because you're starting to understand the world that we live in when it comes to football. We live in the poach society because everybody's poaching players because of the transfer portal. And there are thousands of players right now in the transfer portal from D3, D2, all the way up to D1 and all the way around looking for a home. And that, one of the things about it is guys are going to play football for a school in the spring. If things are a hit or a miss, he ain't feeling it. It ain't this, it ain't that. He hitting the transfer portal and looking for a new home for the fall. So then you having to deal with depleted rosters across the board too, where guys are, leaving somebody who you thought you could depend on. And as we see at Tennessee, when it comes to NIL, you have to be able to move on from a guy just simply because we have a discrepancy of what we want to do with money moving forward as it relates to paying out that student athlete. So it's a whole changing world out there. And we're going to talk about all of that from so many different levels today. And that's what Dawson Odums is going to come on and talk to us about, former coach at Norfolk State, former coach at Southern University. So other than that, man, how was you guys' week? Hope everybody had a good week. Things have been rolling. Things have been looking good on my end, man. My son last week, as you know, I was out of the studio, had a soccer tournament over in Houston. So it's like spring football game, your son's soccer game. I got to go see my son's soccer game, all right? So, we got a caller? Tell Chuck, come on. We got time. All right, let's get Chuck on the line. Good morning, Chuck. What's going on, man?
Hello, I'm just going to be early. I know you have some great guests coming on. But you were just talking about what's going on now with the spring game. I know you all had your spring game and many others like Florida A&M and others. It's great that you all are able to have spring games in these times because, like, as you said, poaching is a concern. And I look at this guy. He's been center of attention this past week before as Nico Iamaleava from Tennessee. I see he's going to UCLA, and people say, okay, you went from Tennessee to UCLA. In University of California system, they had a lot of budget problems there. They had some budget crisis out there in California, but he's been all these things these demands he had, and they've been making jokes about him wanting how much he wanted, and talking about this fancy vehicle what's been reported. And I said, gosh, this is where we are in college athletics, and even in women's college basketball side has been with the transfer portal and money floating around. That's why a lot of them not quick to go to the WNBA. I watched the WNBA draft the other evening, and just these things are it's grabbing attention. This is where we are, and I don't want to go forward into it. I know you can go further into it, but this is where we are. And like I said, Nico Iamaleava is one that's been the center of attention.
You got a chance to go over there. Cut that down a little bit for me. Yeah, there we go. You had a chance to go over to Grambling for me. We need you to be our eyes and ears over there at Grambling for me, Chuck.
Brother White. Graham, they don't they don't, you don't have SID, all that. I didn't, stuff is going on, because the way things are going now, and things I'm doing now, and it's just, you don't have College J. Nicholson around. This is before social media and internet. You just don't have that anymore with, and that's been the talk about, sports information directors. You just don't see that too much floating around nowadays. You still have Brian Howard used to be at Grambling. He's at Alabama A&M. And he's worked at Florida A&M. I got to know him quite well, but you just don't have. I didn't know what was going on. And I know Mickey Joseph was talking about saying that he played at Nebraska, saying that some of the players, with the NIL about them, something about how they put something about giving money. It's a situation talking about them paying some money and all that. If they decide to hit the transfer portal, that's for another discussion.
Chuck, what you and the family doing for Easter, man?
Just gonna be right here around the house. Not much going on. Probably going, not doing all the cooking anymore. Might get something from a place somewhere and just have a meal there, because things do change in life. You end up doing things the older you become.
Well, Chuck, man, I appreciate you calling in as always, man. We make time for you, Chuck.
All right, it's always great conversing with you and to see the ones in the comments as well. You all have a happy Easter. I'm just gonna recognize everyone, if it's Easter or if it's Passover, whatever. I recognize everyone. Just have a great holiday season.
Same to you, Chuck, man. Appreciate you for calling in as always, man.
All right, you all take care.
All right, that's my man Chuck, man, giving us a call this morning, letting us know what's going on around. And look, it's always good to have Chuck. He interact. Where Chris at? Chris, where you at? Was you at the spring game? I'm waiting on your call because I want to hear your evaluation, Chris. Where you at? I ain't heard from you. I'm talking football today for you too, Chris. You can give me about 8:30, all right? About 8:30, Chris, if you out there and you're listening. If you up right now, about 8:30, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your evaluation of what you saw after we get done talking to the coaches, because we're going to talk offense and defense and everything else. But, Chris, I got to hear what you got to say about the mighty Jaguars. I know I can't move forward out of the spring without hearing your opinion, man, because you're going to keep it real with me. And no, you're not getting that apology from Coach Dooley. You might as well just put that in the bag and throw that in the trunk. You ain't going to get that one. But we're going to move forward and see, man. I want to see what you saw, Chris. I didn't get a chance to see it. I've been to practice, but I didn't get a chance to go to the spring game. So what you guys saw may be different from what I see. So I want to talk to you guys about that. But right now, what I got to do, I got to take a break, pay some bills, and I come back on the other side. We're going to talk some SWAC baseball, Southern up in Pine Bluff this weekend, and then we'll look around the conference. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be right back. Stay tuned more to Jaguar Journal.
Quincy Richard is the quarterback. And Don, this is a man who's really changed his game from last season, and he's a graduate student as well.
Yes, he has, Bob. Quincy Richard has matured into the unquestioned leader of this Southern University offensive attack. 10 wins this season, and he set school marks for passing yards and touchdown passes. And Bobby's had a lot of help. Only 5 sacks on the season.
He earned his undergraduate degree back in August. He's taking some master's classes, and he wants to be a lawyer.
Here's Richard looking in the end zone. Has a man there. Touchdown, Southern University.
Play clock down to 3. Richard gets it off over the middle. Touchdown.
Holmes goes in motion and comes set on a 1st and 10. Richard completes it. That's Ard. Ard down the sideline. He could go. And finally pushed out of bounds. Richard's run for 10 touchdowns this season. He's going to keep it. Richard goes in. make it 11 for Quincy Richard. Richard wide open, touchdown Chris Davis. Oh, does he love playing football even more now?
That in the flag against Grambling, holding on the kickoff.
Richard looking deep, and it's a touchdown.
But only 3 times did he go down. Twice he ran out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage. It goes down as a sack.
2nd and 8, the deep ball, and that's our man Chris Davis for the touchdown. Time for today's State Farm Players of the Game. And from Southern University, the quarterback, number 15, Quincy Richard, 34 of 42, 552 yards, 5 touchdown passes.
Quincy, on behalf of State Farm Insurance Companies, I want to present you with a trophy for the most outstanding player today. Congratulations.
All right, we're back. It's the Jaguar Journal. Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you with us. Good morning, everybody out there listening on 107.3 FM across the Baton Rouge, capital city area, and everybody watching on our YouTube and Facebook Live. I'm sharing it all across the groups right now as we speak. Glad to have you guys. And once again, if you have not followed us on any of our social media, I need you to go do that right now, later, whatever the case. I just need you to do it. You know, don't need anything from you. It's free. Don't cost nothing to support. Don't cost nothing to keep up, and that's all we want to do is have you support and keep up with us as we continue to grow the show. Of course, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube for those that are watching all across the country on our YouTube, and as well as on X and Instagram. Type in the Jaguar Journal _ and Facebook, the Jaguar Journal. Very simple, very easy. If you've been listening to the show, it's simply the Jaguar Journal. Of course, I'm Perry White. Glad to have you guys with us. Let's jump into some SWAC baseball. Last week, I didn't get a chance to cover baseball much. Had Paul Bryant, the athletic director at Alabama A&M, on the show, as well as Dr. Travian Scott up at Grambling. Their athletic director had a good opportunity to conversate with both of them, send a direction that those departments are heading in and the leadership that they're bringing to those specific areas. Ooh, that's a you all know that word? Anybody know that word? But for those specific areas, with those schools, man. So we had the opportunity to chop it up with them. But I go back to last week. Let's take baseball, right? Alcorn coming into town. Southern took on Alcorn, and Alcorn came into Baton Rouge winless in conference play. And guess what? They picked up their first conference victory against Southern on last Friday as Southern fell 11-7 to Alcorn State in game 1. Southern picked it up in game 2. You would have thought this was football season with this score. 23-19 was the baseball score on Saturday's game 2. And listen, 23-19, where was the pitching? And then in game 3 on Sunday, Southern won it. It's still a football score. 16-6 was the final score in that one. And Southern was able to close out the series and win it 2-1. And then we move on to a midweek game. The Jaguars traveled up to Starkville, Mississippi to take on Mississippi State. Mississippi State all over the Jaguars in this one, 16-2. In that ball game. Then Southern on the road again, having to go up, y'all know, Pine Bluff, my neck of the woods, taking on the Golden Lions, my mom's alma mater. And this one hurt me when I saw it on social media. Of course, my boy Cameo, who works in athletics up there, he sent me the link for the baseball game. And I knew there was a reason he sent me the link, right? Normally, I don't get a link because Southern probably whooping UAPB in something. But I got the link sent to me this time, and I click on it, and UAPB is up big in this ball game. And UAPB ultimately wins game 1 of this weekend series 15-1. First pitch was on Thursday. So, you know, I post on social media. I'm like, what the hell is this? All right, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with this team. You can't lose to Pine Bluff like that. That's kind of where I draw the line, right? I can handle a lot. I have to draw the line, though, when it comes to Pine Bluff, just because of the backlash. Everybody, you know, I get called the traitor. I get called, you know, you done went down there with them people and you act different now, whatever the case. So I like to whoop up on them when we get a chance. I don't like them to whoop up on us. Because then the ammunition, they like, well, we beat y'all in baseball. Then I got to say, you know what? I don't really even care about baseball this year. I'm waiting for football season. I hate to be in that position. And I'm in that position because then they played again in game 2 yesterday. It wasn't any better. 13-3. UAPB gets the victory. Man, what is Southern doing up there, man? Just giving up massive runs, 15 runs in game 1, 13 in game 2. That's 28 total runs to Southern's 4. Over the 2-day span, 28-4. Game 3 today at 1 o'clock. So I'm just hoping, the series, the UAPB has already won it. And UAPB is headed in the right direction. I'm going to talk about them because last week they won a series over Texas Southern, which is tough. And that was their first series win over Texas Southern since 2016. I tell you how long it's been since this program up in Pine Bluff has found some success, but they are now headed in the right direction. And when I go to the SWAC standings, you'll see exactly where they at. But Southern right now down 0-2 in this series. UAPB has won. Can Southern just get one? Southern, can you give me one? Coach Crenshaw, I was tempted to call you this morning, but I said I can't bother him. He on the road. I get it. I understand what it's like to be on the road, but it's unacceptable. I can't deal with it. And then the people in Pine Bluff making sure I have to deal with it. Don't set me up like that. And it ain't even about me, but I got to deal with that, okay? Come on, Jaguars. And I saw some pictures of some of the fans from up in that Little Rock, Pine Bluff area for Southern. We're at the game, taking pictures and checking them out. Southern takes it on Nichols. They'll return home on Tuesday at Lee Hines Field against Nichols. First pitch is going to be 6 o'clock. And then next week, Mississippi Valley State will be in Baton Rouge for a 3-game series on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And guess what, folks? We're almost on the back end of this schedule. It'll be conference tournament before you know it with Mississippi Valley next week. The week after that, the Jaguars will be traveling over to Houston to take on Texas Southern before returning home against McNeese State. Then they'll have to travel way up to Huntsville, Alabama to take on Alabama A&M. And then they're going to have a series with Jackson State to close out the regular season. And we know what that's like. That's a rivalry game. Having to go up to Jackson for a 3-game series, you know what that's going to be all about. But right now we got to focus on making sure we can close out with a win over Pine Bluff on the road before coming home against Nichols and Valley next week. So right now the Jaguars struggling, not looking good for them. And let's look over at the SWAC standings, right? Let's start at the bottom. Let's look at Alcorn State, the Braves, who are 1-15 in conference play. They got their first conference victory last week here in Baton Rouge in game 1 against Southern. The Braves are 6-28 on the season. You move up, you look at Alabama A&M, who is 2-15 in conference play, 9-28 on the season. They're currently riding a 5-game losing streak. Above them, the Delta Devils of Mississippi Valley State, 5-13 in conference play. They're 10-18 overall, riding a 3-game losing streak. How about Prairie View, the Panthers? 4-10 in conference play. They're 8-30 overall, and they're riding a 13-game losing streak right now. It's tough to be at the bottom. And then here goes Southern, right along with everybody with this losing streak. 7-10 in conference play, 15-22 overall on the season, riding a 3-game losing streak right now. Then right above them, tied at 7-10, is Jackson State. 19-17 overall on the season. They won their last 2. Here's Pine Bluff. Working their way up. They're 8-6 in conference play, 10-27 on the season right now. Grambling State, the Tigers, 11-5 in conference play. They're 16-19 overall, riding a 5-game win streak. Then we get to the top 3. Texas Southern, the Tigers, who are 12-5 in conference play. They're 18-20 overall, riding a 2-game winning streak. Alabama State. How about the Alabama State Hornets? They're always in the thick of things every year. They're 13-4 in conference play, 21-19 overall on the season, riding a 3-game win streak. Who's in a slump right now? How about the Rattlers of Florida A&M? They're 13-4. They're still not a slump, but they're 13-4 in conference play. They're 19-17 overall, but they're in a 3-game losing streak right now. And the best team right now in conference play in the SWAC on the baseball side, hands down, the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats coming out of Daytona Beach, Florida. 15-2 on the season, 23-16. They're riding a 6-game win streak. Currently the longest win streak in the conference, with Grambling right there behind them at a 5-game win streak. So if you're looking at Southern's at the bottom, near the bottom. 4 teams below Southern. That's Prairie View, Mississippi Valley, Alabama A&M, and Alcorn. Southern and Jackson both tied at 7-10 in conference play. This Southern team is giving up a lot of runs on the season, a lot of hits in games. You start to rack up the errors, and then you start to see just the lack of success from the pitching side of things. And what happens? You get these high-scoring games that we've been seeing with the Jaguars. As I said, giving up 13 runs yesterday, 15 on Thursday. They gave up 16 runs Tuesday at Starkville against Mississippi State. They gave up 19 last Saturday against Alcorn. They gave up 15 last Wednesday before against UNO. They gave up 12 runs in game 3 against Grambling. They gave up 14 runs in game 2 against Grambling, and they gave up 12 runs in game 1 against Grambling. When they played UNO the other time, they gave up 20 runs. 18 runs to Bethune-Cookman in game 2, 12 runs in game 1. They gave up 15 runs against McNeese. So you guys see where I'm going with it? 17 runs against Prairie View. 19 against Incarnate Word. I can keep going. That's a lot of runs. I can equate that back to pitching and errors. And it seems like right now Southern does not have what they need in the chamber when it comes to the depth at pitching right now, giving up a lot of runs. 18 runs to Alabama State in game 2, 14 runs to Alabama State in game 1. So it seems to be tough on the Jaguars right now. Coach Crenshaw and his staff are going to have to get that together, and I need them to get it together now. I'm going to send them a text and say, man, I try to be uplifting today and just say good luck against Pine Bluff, because 0-3 to Pine Bluff, I can't take it. That's just not who we're supposed to be losing to. I can take some, but Pine Bluff? No. Don't sit well with me this morning. A little unsettling at the fact there we possibility Southern Gold could be possibly 0-3 against Pine Bluff. I made it a point of emphasis to continue to say that over and over and over, because I want people to realize where I stand on this. I just can't, it don't sit well in my stomach. I lose my appetite when I look up and I see that score. And I thought we was going to shake back. I was ready to talk my talk yesterday and be like, you know what? Hey, the shake back is real. It ain't. We still dealing with a hangover, a big one, a tough one. I hope it don't linger over into today. So let's get ready to take another break. And when I come back on the other side, we're going to have my man Dawson Odums, former coach at Southern University, come on and talk to us. We're going to talk NIL, get you an understanding of what this world is starting to evolve and change and look like now that the student athlete, and can we still really call them student athletes in this day and age? Because it's almost just athlete. What about student is even there when it comes to the money? So you guys stay tuned. We'll be right back. We'll stay tuned. More to Jaguar Journal. It's On the Yard Sports, and I'm Perry White, and what I need for you to do is go follow and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter right now.
T.R. Ricks is a fifth-year senior who's getting his first chance to drive the train that Bob talked about. And right now, he's driving it quite well because the Southern Jaguars are kicking butt in the SWAC conference. As Bob mentioned, 6-0 overall in the SWAC, and T.R. Ricks has played so well, over 2,000 yards passing. In the last 3 games running the football, he's been over 100 yards on the ground. The respect factor that he gets from his teammates is incredible. As a fifth-year senior who's never started, they elected him captain. And the numbers he has put up are represented on your screen. 27 total touchdowns on the offense, a pass percentage of nearly 60%. He could be the SWAC Player of the Year on the offensive side.
And they're going to get a huge dose of the best offensive player in the SWAC, and that being Thomas Ricks.
Yeah, what Thomas Ricks has found a way to do is just beat defenses either with his arm, with his feet, or with his leadership capabilities, finding a way to win the games late with fourth quarter comebacks. He showed versatility and athleticism. He's a tremendous athlete that knows how to win, most importantly.
He is a leader both on and off the field.
I just think it has come to a maturity level. I have a 4-year-old son, and, when he was born, I had to grow up fast, and, just staying in school and practicing every day, trying to get better every day, you know, just so he can have a better future. It's just been my inspiration. So, you know, I just think that's my motor that drives me and, you know, keeps me in the game.
His 4-year-old son, Collier, has not missed a game this season. They throw the football around in Rick's dorm room at Southern, and he says it's great playing football with Collier. 1st and 10. Ricks. He's got Vernon. Vernon makes the catch at the 45.
They can run the entire offense with all those guys in the game.
Ricks to Vernon. 1st down. Holmes in the backfield. Ricks. 1st down. Gage on the tackle, but not until Ricks picks up the 1st down. 2nd and 7. Ricks. Overstreet's got it. Across midfield. Ricks has a receiver downfield. It's caught for a touchdown. Territory. Ricks fakes the pitch. Gets inside the 15.
He's in the type of young men that represent his philosophy in life and in football.
Ricks in a shotgun. He's going to run it out to the 10. And 2nd and 11 after the holding penalty. Sidearm toss.
All right, we're back. It's the Jaguar Journal. Good morning, everybody. Hope you are having a good morning with us. It's bright and early, 7:33 a.m. to be exact. Everybody out there tuned in on 107.3 FM across the Baton Rouge, capital city area. Turn your radio up just a little bit louder. Got a very special guest this morning here on the show. If you're in Baton Rouge and you've been around Baton Rouge, you know him very well. He was the former Southern University head football coach. He's 3rd all-time on the wins list with a 63-32 record at Southern. And in conference play, 53-16 in the SWAC. Moved on to Norfolk State. Things didn't quite work out, but here he is with me this morning. My man, Coach Dawson Odums. Good morning, Coach.
Hey, good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
I couldn't be better, man. It's always a great day anytime your feet hit the floor.
Let me ask you this for the people out there, man. What you up to these days, man?
Well, just going around, watching a little spring ball, visiting different places, just really just clearing my mind and getting ready for what's next. I really believe that the next chapter of my life is going to be the best chapter. I can't control what done happened in the past. I'm all focused on what's going forward and making sure that I'm preparing myself for what's in front of me, really just working on me, working on my golf game and really getting that fine-tuned, exercising and really just reading my word, man. It's just, I think sometimes when your life is reshifted, then therefore it comes a time for you to refocus and rededicate and just understand the priorities of life, get back to the foundation, get back to doing the things that got you to where you were and just prioritizing those things and moving forward. I mean, life always will throw you a curveball. It's part of life, and mentally you got to be able to handle it. And if you rooted and got a good foundation, and my good foundation is the word, I always fall on my feet. So I'm just being patient and waiting on what's next.
Listen, next time you get a chance and you around, man, and you working on your golf game, can you help me out? I'm horrible, Coach. Yeah, I went to the range the other day. It don't look too good for me moving forward. I need some help.
Well, the best advice I give people is when you're beginning to do something, seek out an expert to help you.
You?
No. You're gonna need somebody that can give you some lessons. So, because my golf game and what I know works for me.
Okay.
So you need to get somebody that is a teacher, is an instructor that can look at your swing, look at what you're doing, look at your clubs and say, hey, you're a beginner. Let's teach you how to first stand. You know, you got to go to it's like learning, man. You got to go to the ABCs of life. And once you get the ABCs down, it becomes fun because you're not out there and you're not getting frustrated. When you try to do something on your own, it's frustrating because you're not going to have the success that you're looking for because you don't have the fundamentals that's going to garnish that kind of success.
So you basically tell them, you ain't finna show me nothing.
Well, I can't show you because you're gonna still be bad. Man. I'm just telling you. If you invest in 3 lessons, 3 basic lessons, I promise you your golf game will take off a lot faster. But picking up those clubs and going out there and think you gonna just hit that ball,
it don't work.
It don't work like that.
It don't work.
It don't work like that.
You know, as we had this conversation today, and you and I have been able to have conversations off the record about, what is happening in the world around us when we talk about athletics. NIL is this whole new realm of things, name, image, and likeness that we're starting to unravel in college athletics. And a lot of times we get so caught up in talking about football with it because it's the most recognizable sport for many when it comes to college athletics. But there's a trickle down all the way from a gymnast to the baseball player to the women's basketball player to track and field. So many different layers to NIL. And then you factor in the transfer portal, which is basically like shopping yourself around, trade, whatever else the case. But for you, your thoughts, just let's start with the idea of NIL with college athletes today.
Well, I think it's really great that student athletes can be compensated for their name, image, and likeness. But it's a lot of rules and regulations that I don't think were spelled out in the beginning, and just understanding, how we're going to navigate as we move forward, and just understanding. I think when people hear NIL, that it's two parts of it. You have a collective part and a directive part. And when you look at the collective part, that's mainly facilitated by boosters and donors. And what they do is they facilitate that to student athletes. And you have for instance, you may have a student athlete that may come in for a company and they're able to receive different things from that company. Like they don't necessarily have to receive money; they can receive product. They could be NIL for Smoothie King. Well, Smoothie King might not give them money, but they might give them free smoothies. So it's just different ways to capitalize on your name, image, and likeness, and then in return, they can use your name for promoting their products. When you talk about the directive, we're talking about now you don't have to go through the collective. The collective distributes to student athletes, but when you talk about the directive, it's between a business and the student athletes and their teams or their representation or whoever's representing them. So the directive part of it is now that I can say, hey, you working for me. So now I can give you direct funds. I can exchange direct cash to you for your services. I might have a business. We might have a event going on that we need you to appear at, and then you're able to come and appear at those events. And I can represent you by myself as a company, or it can be multiple companies that you work for that represent you. So when you see commercials and stuff like that, those are probably directives that are going straight to the individual, and they're capitalized on that financially. So, but with that, it's a lot of moving parts that you got to understand when you're part of it, and coaches and athletic departments got to spend a lot of time educating, because you can get really messed up and stuck when it comes to NIL.
Let me ask you this, because as we factor these different perspectives into this NIL collective, we're talking money, we're talking opportunities. When you look at this, talk to me about what we call student athlete. For some of these young men and young women, there's a lot of money on the table for them and a lot of contribution, as you could say, coming their way. And listening to something that you sent me from the University of Florida, of course, in basketball, just winning the national championship, and the guy going around asking them about classes, and they almost like, what class? What does this do now moving forward, especially for those in that upper echelon of the bag, as they say, when you look at student athlete? Does it still basically have the title student athlete, and are they actually student athletes at this point?
Well, I think because we're dealing with institutions, they're going to always try to hold on to the title that they're student athletes. And I posed a question, and I asked colleagues, I asked friends. The NFL teams have a team meeting, and some of these guys in the NFL are making similar dollars to these guys in college. And I asked people, I said, not probably one coach in the NFL start the meeting off saying, hey, son, you're struggling in chemistry. No, because we're paying you to do a job. And when you look at NIL, when you look at collective, and when you look at directive, they're getting paid to be athletes. Those people ain't concerned about, hey, man, how was that chemistry experiment? Regular students are not having these conversations about NIL. We're only talking about athletes. So when we're talking about student athletes, and we're talking about giving them thousands of dollars, in some cases millions of dollars, then my question is, where does the 20-hour rule play into that? Because if we're going to get you that kind of money for being an athlete, whatever sport you in, I'm going to need you to be performing at the greatest level that you can perform at. But how can you perform maximum level when half of your time is spent on being a student, and 3/4 of coaching is financial literacy, mental wellness? You're spending so much time on these other topics, but they tell you can only spend 20 hours on football a week. And then in the off season, you can only spend this number of hours a week. So I don't understand it, how you can say we can pay them X amount of dollars, but yet keep them in the same umbrella as being student athletes. If you're a student athlete, the only way we could verify that was that you were an amateur. Once you start receiving funds, my $1 million question is, does the amateur status now go out the window? Because one of the questions that's always on the application is, have you ever received funds? And if you check yes, that means you were a semi-pro, but you were considered a pro.
Mm-hmm.
And my definition of, if we're going to pay them, then are they student athletes or are they pros? Because what defines a student athlete now? Because what we're doing is creating lifestyles for individuals that if they don't go to pro, they're accustomed to making $20,000 a month. What job is leisure studies or general studies going to provide you that kind of money?
Mm-hmm.
So now we're talking about depression, we're talking about anxiety, we're talking about increases in mental health and decision making. This whole landscape for 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old individuals is changing daily, and we've got to get a grasp on it. And I think that's the major problem that everybody is having, is that it's a free fall. It's the wild, wild west. And it started out the wild, wild west. It's hard to tame. If you would have started out with rules and regulation and structure, it would have been easy to implement and adjust as you move forward.
Let me ask you this, especially let's look at the FCS level. And for a lot of people that's out there listening, they would like to know, how do you survive in this world of the FCS level? Let's take a Southern, let's take a Norfolk State, Grambling, Jackson, NCCU, and therefore, what's the way to survive when you don't have the deep pockets like the other schools? If I say I can give you $20,000, you say, well, North Dakota State offering me $75,000. How do we survive that? What does that future look like, especially then when you factor in the transfer portal, who right now has thousands of kids in there thinking the grass is greener somewhere else, and ultimately there's going to be thousands of kids in there that's going to end up nowhere in the fall?
Well, it's got to be a mentality shift, and your mentality shift got to be in line with reality of where you at. When you look at the universities that you just mentioned, it's like, okay, when we look at the structure of some of these universities, when was the last time that, something major as it related to infrastructure or buildings or something taking place on your campus for your athletic department?
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's a new gym, whether that's a new field house, in the MEAC, nobody has a field house. So what is the reality and what does winning look like? We done went through, you got Title IX, you got all these things that are happening in college sports, you got transgender, you got all these things that are happening. And so therefore, you got to be thinking about, okay, these guys need space. These women need space. And they need space to be themselves. They need space to operate. And when you look at that and you say, okay, what does winning look like? And winning in facilities and NIL, they look the same. I just was listening to T.C. Taylor. I saw a clip on him. I think theirs is called the 1400 Collective or something like that. And they was talking about now is the time. Now is the time for us to stay at the top and put money into it. Because if we don't, once we go to the bottom, you're never going to raise up. The window of opportunity and to capitalize on that window of opportunity is small. And I think that's why you're seeing some of the shifts in trying to get NFL former players to become coaches, because from a financial standpoint, they're looking at that and saying, okay, how can we raise money? Is that going to help us raise money? If it is going to help us raise money, what does that money look like? But in order to do that, you have to have a plan before you hire the individual and not put the plan together once the individual get there.
Said something because right there.
If you're trying to figure it out once they get there, you're already behind.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to capitalize on every second of their name, image, and likeness. So if you don't have multi-million dollars to capitalize on their name, image, and likeness, then it's not going to work. I commend what's my guy name? That's the AD at Jackson.
Ashley Robertson.
I commend him, man, because I've been a fan to him, everywhere he's been, and I've seen how his career has gone, and I see how that plan that he had when he hired Deion Sanders to be able to say, okay, I know this is a temporary fix, but how can we maximize this temporary fix in this short period of time to get Jackson State to a level that we know he can help us get to?
Mm-hmm.
And they did. They were able to improve facilities. They were able to get some things in place. And now T.C. Taylor has come in, and he's done a great job of trying to say, now, how can we sustain this? Because you don't have the same circle of people that Deion Sanders had. So now we're relying on Jackson State, true alums. Not a whole lot of outside business help, that we're trying to get. We got enough graduates that's coming from here to say, we can do this, but we got to do it together. And capitalizing on the momentum that they have. That's the biggest thing, is that it takes money, man. It takes a lot of money now in today's college athletics to sustain and stay at the top. And to get the better players, you got to have some money. If you don't have money, you're not going to get the better players.
And that's the tough conversation, because for a lot of these institutions, they are already labeled with the notion of low resource. Then it's like, all right, is it worth putting the resource where we already low on money for this athlete that could be going to other things, like you said, helping improve facilities and whatever else the shortfalls are that really are urgent need to improve?
Well, and it's true that, you just think about it, though. How many players go back to their institutions at low-resource schools and say, man, this the same way it was when I was there? Well, I was there in 1992. It's like, okay, what I see, we done built new dorms, we done built new classroom buildings, but this stadium is the same since I was there. But when you look at it and you say, okay, some of the low resources schools have really done a great job of trying to improve facilities. I know when we was at Norfolk, we got a locker room. I think when Coach Vic just came in, I think they redid the meeting rooms and the space for them. And, I kind of laid out a plan and say, hey, these things will help the next coach come in. One thing about me, man, I'm going to help. Because I want people to be successful. It doesn't matter what that look like in relationship to me, because I'm a God-fearing man. I just believe that my job is always to try to promote other people and be supportive of them. And so I laid out a plan and said, if you do these things, it'll kind of help the next guy coming in. Well, you think about this. We're in 2025, okay? And you talk about, when you talk about low resources, we're mainly talking about HBCUs. And we're saying that, okay, how many of their athletic training facilities got indoor pools or cold tubs and hot tubs? How many of them got sustainable training? See, we get caught up on NIL. But if our presentation is good with our facilities, people will come play for us. So where you go spend your money? You go spend your money on getting a good player and bringing them to bad facilities, which you go get disgruntled. You know, it's other ways to create a level of experience for student athletes that's outside of NIL.
And I know you talked about it when you were here, even the dietetic and nutrition part of the program.
Just having a training table, just being able to give them the necessary nutrition to be able to be successful. Supplements and nutrition. Just being able to give them recovery drinks after they work out, being able to give them shakes and stuff after they work out. That's not an NIL deal.
Mm-mm.
But nobody else has that. So if you start doing research on what other people don't have, and you start getting what other people don't have at a smaller level, you begin to capitalize the market because people want to come there. People want things. It ain't necessarily got to be money. Generation Z is about having a different experience. What does that experience look like? They talk to their friends. Their friends are recruiting them. You want to be able to have something else to say, to go with it, to say, hey, we got something that your friends don't have.
Coach, let me ask you this. I got to get ready to go to a break at the top of the hour. You want to continue this conversation about 30 minutes here?
Yes, I'm good.
All right, let's do that, though. We're going to talk some spring football at the top of the hour, but people in the comment section, they are enjoying the conversation. I'm sure people out there in radio around the Baton Rouge capital city area enjoying this as well, because it is a true conversation, and it's so many layers to it that I still want to peel back with you, because you being a coach, you understand what this looks like in this ever-changing landscape. You saw what it was before, and you see what it is now. And what used to give coaches time for a few years to build a program, it's like that commercial. It's my money and I want it now. That time is no longer given. It's almost like we got to get it together now because of what's all on the table. So I want to talk more about that in about 30 minutes with you, Coach. That'll work?
Yes, sir. No problem.
All right. That's my man, Coach Dawson Odums. Coach, we'll get back with you in about 30 minutes. All right, everybody, we're getting to the top of the hour. We're about to get ready to talk some Southern University football. We're going to talk about and recap the spring. My man, Mark Frederick, who's the offensive coordinator, is going to come on and give us a recap of what the offense looked like and how he's feeling coming out of the spring. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be back more to Jaguar Journal.
It's On the Yard Sports, and I'm Perry White, and what I need for you to do is go follow and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter right now.
Talk about offense, we talk about Southern, and it begins with their passing game.
Tom, beyond potent, we're talking about high octane, we're talking about fast break, we're talking about 41 points a game, some 500-plus yards since Terrence Levy has taken over this offense.
Because that young man doesn't drop any ball.
With the legacy that you started here, you got to feel happy to see it continue on with Doug Williams.
Ball now back at the 22-yard line. Levy, no pressure at all. Touchdown, Ingram. The Bayou Classic. Levy on a first and goal play. Throws a touchdown. Grambling comes with a blitz. Levy steps in the pocket. And his pass is caught. One-handed grab.
Sort of in the middle of the road of the SWAC, but immediately they jump on the Jackson State defense. And here's Levy rolling out. And the pass is caught. Ball is at the 31-yard line. Again, throwing the football downfield. Oh, and his receiver, Hayes, makes the catch. See you later. Touchdown, Southern. If you're going to get, I got some free tickets. Look out for it, brother. Going downfield. Oh, and what a play by Southern.
Score. He's played a lot tougher ever since. And this is a free play for Southern.
2nd and 15.
It's a free play.
Levy completes his
pass.
It's
a free play.
Oh, and he's still up.
It's a free play.
Hayes is going to continue running inside the 10, the 5. Unbelievable, Michael Hayes. 3rd down. And 23 for a first. Levy over the middle. Nice pass that time. 2nd and 20. Levy doesn't have to get it all, but he's going to have to pick up some yards. Here he is throwing, nice catch made.
The receiver, Michael Hayes. There he goes.
Hayes makes the catch. Hayes still on his feet. Hayes looking for blocking. Hayes trying to find a hole. Hayes is still on his feet. He alley-oops. He's inside the 15 and drawn out a foul.
Touchdown.
The backfield. Plenty of time for Levy across the middle. Has his man at the 15. You know, I don't know if you want to break the spirit of Terrence Levy or not. Here he wings one wide open down the middle and a one-handed grab made.
The way. Third down in 4. And here's Lewis off the catch. Lewis still on his feet. And Lewis is streaking down the sideline. Touchdown. So they move back 5 yards. Levy on third down. Looking down the sideline. Yes, sir. Big time play.
Guys stepping up like they're going to blitz. He really is going to start thinking.
Levy pump and go. Levy finds his receiver, Devin Lewis. Good experience, a receiver experience for Hines.
How great is it to have a quarterback coach? Tipped ball is caught by Hayes. Michael Hayes has the speed. Hayes to the 10. Touchdown.
2 poor passes today.
3rd and 4. Here is Guyen with the reception and the first down. Shakes one tackler. Still going inside the 30. Guyen to the 10 and dragged out of bounds. Down at the 15 for Southern. Terrence Levy wings it down the sideline for Hayes. Racehorse offense. Again showing its first hold. Ingram as Levy just
quarter with Jackson State leading 10-3. Ball is at the 31-yard line. Again throwing the football downfield. Oh, and his receiver Hayes makes the catch. See you later. Touchdown, Southern. And every time you think Southern struggles, they come back, they make a play. They've done it all year long. Kick is up. Kick is good. 2nd down and a yard to go. Again, they give it to Lewis. Lewis finds room. Lewis still on his feet. Lewis making a move to the outside. He's inside the 25, the 10, the 5. What a run by Ryan Lewis. 69-yard run for Ryan Lewis. And how about this? Kicks up, kicks good. Halftime, George Johnson along with Charles Mann. Southern trailed in this football game 10-7. Then they reel off 14 straight points, and they do it with the big plays.
And that's something that we didn't think would happen, at least from Southern's perspective. They've been able to methodically go down the field on people and win ball games, not the big plays. You saw the big play by Ryan Lewis running 69 yards, the nice throw by Terrence Levy. This is something that I don't think Jackson State thought they would see in Southern either, and they go into halftime down by 7 points.
Jackson State came in the best defense out of the SWAC. And if you take a look at the highlights, you will see that this club, and I'm talking about Southern, was really able to capitalize on a couple of miscues, and the big plays are the result of it.
And this is Daniel Guy with a nice stiff arm to Bradley Pittman there. And he runs that ball 36 yards inside for a touchdown, makes it 7-3. And then Terrence Levy, quarterbacking, throws a big bomb to Michael Hayes, who gets by Rashard Anderson and waltzes into the end zone for a 69-yard reception. And then the big run by Ryan Lewis, a scat back for Southern, races 69 yards for the score. And that's where it stands right now, 17-10. Southern is on top.
Passing leaders in the conference, Lionel Hayes from Grambling, your top passer. Washington second, but he's intercepted right there. This time the inside handoff,
and the ball was dropped, and Tommy Head.
Here's Taylor in the pocket, looking downfield, and looking for Leroy Fields, and this one looks intercepted, and it is.
He's played a lot tougher ever since. And this is a free play for Southern.
2nd and 15.
It's a free play.
Levy completes his
pass. It's a free play.
Oh, and he's still up.
It's a free play.
Hayes is going to continue running inside inside the 10, the 5. Unbelievable Michael Hayes. Hayes now with 187 yards receiving. 169-yard touchdown, 181-yard touchdown.
And Southern's came up with all the big plays.
It's the Jaguar Journal. Good morning to everybody. Glad to have you guys with us. I'm Perry White. Glad to have you guys listening on 107.3 FM across the Baton Rouge capital city area, and everybody watching and listening on our YouTube and Facebook page. Good morning to you guys. And as we keep things rocking and rolling this morning, spring football took place last week, the scrimmage for Southern University. And so, y'all not going to let me live unless we talk about it and evaluate it. So nobody better to do it with than the coaches themselves. So welcome this morning to the Jaguar Journal, my man, offensive coordinator, Coach Mark Frederick. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Perry. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
I can't complain. Enjoying this Easter weekend.
Do you ever get a break truly as a coach?
No, it's 24/7, 365.
Let's recap and look back at last week, right? We had the spring game, glorified scrimmage, practice. We all understand what it is for those close to the industry. For the fans, hey, they just want some football, man, and they don't care how you give it to them. For you, coming into the spring, we had an opportunity to talk to you. We knew you were going to have some big shoes to fill at the quarterback position, going to be young at the running back position, trying to gel that offensive line and then grow those receivers and tight ends up. Okay, we're done with spring football. Your evaluation leading up into the spring game last week of what you've been able to see for the progression of your offense.
Well, we'll start with the quarterback position. I thought those guys, they took some huge steps, man. Jalen Woods and Jamari Jones. I'm very pleased with the improvement. They took some huge steps. They learned the offense. They moved the offense in the spring game, and that's what you want to see. You want to see guys be able to take control of the offense and get us to where we need to be. So I was pleased with them. At the offensive line spot, I thought those guys did a great job of learning and communicating with each other. If you can't talk up front, you're going to have problems. So I thought they did a good job as well. We're waiting on some more pieces to come in with them. Like you said, the running back spot is very young. We lost 2 guys to the portal. We're going to add some older guys to that room, but the young guys showed great promise. They showed great promise, and you can't help but to be excited about about the receiver room. The receivers and tight ends, man, they had a great spring, and they showed up in the spring game that, a lot of concerns was in that room, but I think them young guys took to the challenge, and they ready to play. So it's exciting this off season, and again, we are adding some more pieces, but overall for the spring game, I was very pleased with the guys. Gave up a few sacks that I didn't like, but overall, I thought they moved the ball up and down the field and scored some points.
When you look at your quarterback room, right, we saw Jalen Woods come in last year and really take over that position. But then you bring in 6'3" Jamari Jones coming from Mississippi Community College, started his career over at Mississippi Valley. He was was he the number 1 JUCO quarterback in the country coming out?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He was the number 1 quarterback in the nation coming out.
What is it about his game that caught your attention with this kid?
Well, in today's game, everybody looking for that dual threat guy, and I thought that's what he possessed. He can run it, he can throw it, he can make things happen when plays break down, and that's what you want.
Then looking at the other side, Jalen Woods, what has his progression been like through the spring? A lot of people, of course, myself as well, want to see him in that SWAC championship game. Of course, he was dealing with a concussion. But now looking at him moving forward, man, what do you think about him? And Coach Graves speaks highly of how he handles himself on and off the field.
Definitely, man. He's coming into his own. He took huge steps as far as the leadership, as far as understanding what we're trying to get done as a team. And I thought he stepped up. He's been leading in the weight room. Of course, he's leading in the classroom. I think he's like a 3.5 student. And, man, he just took control and brought them guys in. And he didn't shy away from us bringing in Jamari. I think he spent some time together with him trying to teach him, the ins and outs of the offense so they both could compete. And that's huge. So I'm excited to see what he brings back in summer camp.
And, of course, Coach Graves said we lost Coach Titan, who went on to be our offensive coordinator. So then that moved Coach Fred McNair from tight ends, still working with them. But then he has the quarterback room, man. Talk about the luxury of Fred McNair being able to work with your quarterbacks, the original Air McNair.
Another veteran, guy with, you can't amount the experience he has in the SWAC as a playing quarterback and coaching quarterback. I know his time at another school, man. Every year, I think he had the player of the year at the quarterback spot.
They was pumping him out. I can name them all, from Gibbs to Footman to Johnson to Felix Harper, all of them. They was pumping him out.
He was pumping them out, man. So I think he didn't put his stamp on the room so far this spring, and I'm just excited. I'm loving the growth of the quarterback room. So I think we're going to be all right in there.
Let's go to the running back room. Of course, you love those running backs. They're near and dear to you. Young guys, you bring in Asbury, you have Gabriel and some other guys, man. Give us an idea of each one of those running backs that you got your eye on that should be some impacts for Southern's offense.
Well, you can't really speak on the recruits you got trying to bring in, but the ones we have here, Gabriel is more of a slasher. You know what I'm saying? He can run in between the tackles, but his thing is getting outside and showing his speed and athletic ability. And he could catch out of the backfield. Remo is more of he can come down here, he can run in between the tackles. He's more of a physical style runner.
And you used him in a unique way last year from the fullback position.
Definitely. I thought he brought, some toughness in there. So when we got down close to the goal line and we needed to get it in, I didn't hesitate to put Remo in that spot. So he's showing great promise. Asbury is a kid who probably should be getting ready to go to prom. Got a chance to come in early. But man, I love his attitude. I love the way he works. He's just a hard-nosed player. You can tell he's a coach's son too, because he understands football.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to play huge for him moving forward. And
go ahead.
We had a guy that transfer in mid-year, Zacchaeus Cooper. He's still young though. He's young. I think he's just a redshirt freshman. He runs hard. He has a little speed, but his thing is coming downhill as well. So we're looking to add some older guys to their room so we wouldn't have to put all that pressure on these younger guys.
Give me that wide receiver room. We kind of strayed away from it in our conversations in the past, but, they're going to be looking at the quarterbacks to throw it, and the quarterbacks are going to want their targets and have some guys to feel comfortable to throw it to. What's up with the wide receiver room? Talk to us about some names and some guys that you're looking to have a year out of.
Darren Morris to start off. I think he was the leading receiver last year. He battled some injuries and stuff, but this year he seems to be healthy. Man, he had one heck of a spring, and I love the attitude he's bringing. He's looking to have a breakout year this year. Cam Jefferson, he's been around. I know I've been here going on year 2, and just watching him, he's a speed demon. He's a speed demon, so he looks to add a different attribute to their receiver room. And a young guy, Kobe Brown. Kobe Brown, man, played something as a true freshman last year. That's going to be the sleeper in that room, in my opinion. Very football savvy, understand how to get in and out of breaks and stuff, and he just make plays when he's on the field. And we ended up bringing in a mid-year guy, Malachi Jackson, big physical receiver, strong hands, man. If it touches hands, 9 times out of 10, he's gonna catch it.
I like that.
Yes. He made a couple catches in the spring game to where you say, okay, that's all hands, And, man, he be squeezing that football. I think he's going to bust it.
Look, that's what I used to call Ethan Howard. I called him Big Hand Ethan Howard. If it got near him, he could just bring it in. And let's look at that tight end room as well, because, listen, tight ends are an integral part of the offense. A lot of people started to move away from them, but Southern, you use your tight ends, and they are a quarterback's best friend when that quarterback don't have nobody else to throw it to. You got that big target right there to give it to.
Yep. We ended up getting a chance to work a guy in named Hubert Calise. We signed him out of St. Aug last year. He's young, but, man, he's talented. I think he's going to add a great compliment to Dupree Fuller and Jermaine Minor.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two older tight ends that played last year, had a great season, and they looking to prove why they should have been all conference. So they got a chip on their shoulder, and I like that from them two. So, and we added a guy from I think he's from Opelousas. He ended up walking on Devontae Brown. I like his skill set, man. He's gonna be all right.
A walk-on kid, I like that.
Yeah, we got 4 kids in that room that are hungry, and they're competing. They're competing for playing time. I don't mind putting 2-3 tight ends on the field. So
play with what you got, Coach. What you got a roster for, you know?
Oh, yes, sir.
Let me ask you this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I was finna say, you saw that last year. I think we used everybody we had on offense. So.
And fans love it because you're not afraid to give it a shot. Hey, give a guy a shot. Let's look at the offense itself. Last week, you calling the plays. What was the base offense that you wanted to go out there and just work with on these guys, getting them familiar with the system and for the fans to see?
Well, the biggest thing is we wanted guys to be comfortable with the system. Last year was year one. I think we catered the offense to fit what we had. I think this spring, some guys actually got a chance to see, hey, man, we can open up this offense. All we got to do is lock in, learn what we got to do, and Coach Fred will give it to us. So I think we leaned a little bit more pass happy this spring because I think the better group this spring was the receivers and tight ends. So we threw the ball around a little bit more. And I don't mind doing that as long as guys can make plays and keep the offense moving. Now, we will run the ball, so don't get that, twisted. But we're going to open up the offense. I thought them guys put in the time, and it's showcased in the spring game.
So does offense as an offensive coordinator evolve through the year where you look to mix it up and do new things, or is it something you got, hey, this is what we gonna do here. This is my style. This is what we gonna do.
Nah, I'm not a stubborn coach. I use what I got. If I got the receiver room talent, we're gonna throw the football in the quarterback room. As long as them guys can, take care of the football. We didn't have no turnovers in the spring game, which I thought was huge as well. So to throw it around by 50, 55 times and you don't have no turnovers, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
That means guys are understanding your system. They know where to go with the football. They're understanding how to read defenses. So, and I think we got one of the best defenses in the SWAC, if not the best defense. So we get to go against Coach Miller and them every day in spring ball. So that's huge for the quarterback room, and to go against one of the top defenses. So you can't help but to get better.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on. Speaking of Coach Miller, I'm about to have him on next, and we're going to talk defense, man. As always, Coach Fred, hey, man, appreciate you coming on, man. Look, it's always an open door invitation to come on here, man, and we can talk some football and life and whatever else, man.
Definitely, man. I appreciate you having me on. Happy Easter to everybody, and go Jags.
Happy Easter to you and your family. Let's get ready to take a break, everybody. That was the voice of Southern University offensive coordinator, Coach Mark Frederick. Get ready to take a break. We come back on the other side. We're going to talk some Southern University defense with defensive coordinator, Coach Henry Miller. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be right back. More of the Jaguar Journal.
Quincy Richard is the quarterback. And, Don, this is a man who's really changed his game from last season, and he's a graduate student as well.
Yes, he has, Bob. Quincy Richard has matured into the unquestioned leader of this Southern University offensive attack. 10 wins this season, and he set school marks for passing yards and touchdown passes. And Bobby's had a lot of help. Only 5 sacks on the season.
He earned his undergraduate degree back in August. He's taking some master's classes, and he wants to be a lawyer.
Here's Richard looking in the end zone. Has a man there. Touchdown, Southern University.
Play clock down to 3. Richard gets it off over the middle. Touchdown.
Holmes goes in motion and comes set on a 1st and 10. Richard completes it. That's Ard. Ard down the sideline. He could go. And finally pushed out of bounds. Richard's run for 10 touchdowns this season. He's going to keep it. Richard goes in. Make it 11 for Quincy Richard. Richard wide open. Touchdown, Chris Davis. Oh, does he love playing football even more now?
That in the flag against Grambling, holding on the kickoff.
Richard looking deep, and it's a touchdown.
But only 3 times did he go down. Twice he ran out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage. It goes down as a sack.
2nd and 8. The deep ball, and that's our man, Chris Davis, for the touchdown. Time for today's State Farm Players of the Game. And from Southern University, the quarterback, number 15, Quincy Richard, 34 of 42, 552 yards, 5 touchdown passes.
Quincy, on behalf of State Farm Insurance Companies, I want to present you with a trophy for the most outstanding player today. Congratulations.
All right, we're back. It's the Jaguar Journal. Good morning, everybody. I'm Perry White. Glad to have you guys with us. Everybody out there listening in Baton Rouge, capital city area on 107.3. Good to have you. And everybody listening across the country on our YouTube and Facebook Live. Glad to have you guys as we're talking Southern University spring football. We talked about the offense. Now let's get to the defensive side of things, and nobody better than to talk about that than the man who runs the defense himself. My main man, Coach Henry Miller. What's up, Coach Miller?
Good morning. Good morning. How are we doing this morning?
Man, good, man. Happy Easter weekend to you and the family, man.
And same to you. Same to you.
All right, let's look back at last weekend, man. Spring football fans got a chance to come out and watch the team. You got a chance to evaluate your team in live action, and then as you put a stamp on the spring and get ready for the off season going into the fall, man. How you feel after evaluating and looking at your team wrapping up the spring?
I think we're on the right road. From the guys that was out there playing, they participated well. A lot of them showed that they're capable of playing my type of defense. But, of course, we have a lot of more guys coming in. So, the defense ain't put together just yet.
You say they not put together just yet. You look at it. Coach Miller said, hey, you ain't get no turnover. I mean, Coach Fred said you ain't get no turnovers. What's going on?
Hey. He did a good job of not throwing the ball out with.
He wasn't going for that, huh?
He came. But, if you was at the game, it was a good game. It was a game of halves. First half was our half. Second half, the offense did something good. So, you want the offense to be on the right path because we're trying to win the championship. So we need them. We need them. We need the offense. So, every time they do well, I'm happy.
Let me ask you this. Let's start in the trenches from the D-line. Give me some names of some guys this spring that you've looked at and said, all right, I like what you're doing.
Of course, we don't have to talk about Givens, but you talk about Zach.
We do got to talk about Givens. Hold on. We got to praise him up.
Yeah, we got to praise him up because, Givens was Givens. He always going to be on that outside creating problems. We had Zach. Zach, he's been around for a couple of years. He's doing well. Plummer, a guy we picked up, and Brown, a guy we picked up. Those guys did well this last Saturday, but we still have a whole lot of defensive linemen here yet to come. So, to be able to sit there and continue to evaluate that position is going to be tough for Coach Miller and Coach Todd.
What you like? What do you want out of your D-line? What is it when you look at your D-line that you have your culture set on? This is what my D-line is going to look like.
Relentless. We got to be able to start a new line of scrimmage. We got to be physical. We got to be relentless. We got to be able to just cause all kinds of commotion and confusion among the offensive linemen. It starts there. The defensive line is the key to our cause. So it starts there. Without that, we ain't going nowhere.
Then let's take a step back and then we move over to the linebackers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at them. Who has stood out? What guys have grown up in that position? Who seems to be the leader going into the fall from that position?
And I'm kind of glad to see him moving in this direction. Vincent Page, a guy that played last year, played well for us. And now that he's been around, he's stepping in the leadership role. And I kind of like that for him. He's a good football player. He's a smart kid, along with Campbell. Campbell is a guy that we signed last year, but we didn't get a whole lot of mileage out of him last year. But we're getting some mileage out of him this spring. He's able to come along, get in better shape. He knows the system. He's playing pretty good. One more other person that's been around is Mike Jones.
Who?
Mike Jones, if he can just stay healthy, and just stay out of harm's way, I think that, we'd be okay at the linebacker position. We also got a young man, Marquise Baptiste. And, of course, we got a couple of linebackers coming in. So the linebacker position, what we're looking for there is more of speed and physicality. So we want our linebackers to be able to run. And that's what I think that we did a great job of this season.
The linebacker position, why I hold it so unique to myself, because we've watched the linebacker position evolve, right? You remember the big old linebackers back in the day, just the big guy. Hey, they were big, but they have no speed. And then you factor in these dual threat quarterbacks and all this speed on the field. We had to slim them down, and then they started calling them hybrids. Now we have this new world of linebackers where, hell, you got to be just as fast as the running backs.
Exactly. Or at least the quarterback, because these quarterbacks are real good athletes now.
Mm-hmm.
So now, at first you need these linebackers that can fill and plug. Now you need them that can fill and plug and run. So they got to be able to do both. And you mentioned hybrid, you're right. That's the new version of the linebacker now, they hybrid.
Let's go to the defensive backfield. You said they really weren't trying to target too much, but your defensive backfield, who are some guys that's standing out, and give us some names that should become household names for many of us that we don't know about in your defensive backfield?
I'll give you two safeties right away. Herman Brewster, and Horatio Johnson.
I'm glad to hear those two names for sure, because them guys can ball out.
And these guys are having the second year of being able to be teammates again, and they complement each other so well back there. Of course, I need another safety to help with those two, because you just can't have two. You got to have at least 3 or 4 when you're talking about playing great football, what we're trying to do. So you have to have some guys that can come in case something happens, that can go in, replace them, and we won't lose a step. But Horatio, Brewster is those two guys. You want to put your hat on anything, put it on them.
And when you're looking at your secondary, what do you want from your secondary? What is that identity?
The identity, we don't give up big plays. We try not to give up big plays. We try to make the offense earn everything they get. We're not saying that they can't get anything, but when they get it, they earn it. We don't want to give it up. So I think that the secondary, we got guys that been back there that, produce. You got guys, Spencer at one corner. You got Eric Reed that played for us at the other corner. And we got a couple of more big-time corners we signed. And I think that we're going to be okay in the secondary. It all starts up front, though. We got to be able to hold on for 3-4 seconds in that defensive line and get to the rest.
What about depth? We begin to look at the depth, right? We know the ones, you get those names, right? But when you start to look at the depth of the guys behind the ones, how do you develop that and grow that as the season goes on?
And that's more important than the people that we have starting. And that's why I keep, explaining that it's not done yet, because the depth is what's coming. The depth is on its way. And matter of fact, some of that depth might be starters. We don't know. That's how close the competition going to be, when they get in here in June. But depth is very important. I'm a true believer that strength is in numbers. And the more people that you can play, And the more people that know how to play this game according to Southern University defensive scheme, the better we will be.
You talk about Southern's defensive scheme. Southern's defense has been really what we've been hanging our hat on since you've been here, man. And we look at this defense. What is it? Does this defense evolve every year to the personnel, or is it pretty much set for what you want and how you want it, and that's what it's going to be?
It's both, when I'm sitting down and I'm trying to figure out how, what we need, we got to make sure we have the proper personnel. So it starts with the personnel. You want guys that you think that can fit what you're doing. You want a linebacker that can run. You want a linebacker that's physical. You want a DB that can cover. You want a DB that's confident, don't mind being on that island. You want defensive linemen that understand their role, that we have to establish another line of scrimmage. If we don't establish another line of scrimmage, then we piss them in the wind. So these guys that, when we sit down and we watch tape, these are the type of things we're looking for. We're looking at attitude. We're looking at, can they be coached? We look at, is there a perfect fit for us? And if it is, that's what we want. Because we know once we get them and put them into the system, we're going to be okay.
You look at what defense is today, and for you, evolving the defense, you're a defensive guy. What is just like I asked Coach Frederick, what is the base defense that you start out with that you want these guys to understand and learn?
4-2-5. You always got to start off simple. You got to be able to put them in a position that they can understand what you're running. So if all else fails, you can put your head on something.
Mm-hmm.
And once you do that, then now you can come on with the other extensions that goes on to the defense. But of course, my defense is set up 4-2-5. I like it. I love it because the pull down linemen create the pressure that you want, establish another line of scrimmage that you want. And the two linebackers, of course, are part of the run game. And when you're talking about throwing the ball, when you look at my secondary, I actually have 3 corners out there and 2 safeties. So I make it kind of tough for them to throw the football. So the offenses like to look at mismatch. So I try not to have none. Okay, so when you talk about putting a slot on the safety, you actually put the slot on the corner. Because I got a slot corner. And plus the other 2 corners out there. And then I let my 2 safeties just be ball players.
That's good. Listen, I'm up against time, Coach. Listen, I'm ready to dive into that, but I don't want to give too much away for the people out there because I know the other folks be listening too. But that's the type of conversation right there I like to have because our listeners, man, they be wanting to listen to the X's and O's. But Coach, man, as we get ready to close out this segment, man, anything out there you want the people to know before you get ready to get out of here?
Yeah, I want the people to know, hey, just be patient. We put something very special out there this year. I think it's the Jaguar time. I really do. I believe that in my heart, and I'm not going to stop believing it. We've been too close for too long. It got to be something around the corner, and I'm not going to give up until I go around the corner. Look underneath that rock and see what the hell it is.
That's my dog right there. Hey, Coach Miller. Hey,
yes,
they didn't really catch that Mike Jones thing. Some of them, they don't really know what we was doing right there. They missed it.
They ain't wake up yet. They haven't woke up yet. That's what it is. But, the offense is doing some good things. The special teams is doing good things. And defense, we're just trying to do our part. Because we know it takes 3 parts of a football team to get to where we need to go. And that's what we're working on.
Man, appreciate you for coming on this morning, Coach Miller, man. Happy Easter to you and your family, man. Hope you enjoy your weekend, man. And do you ever get a break, honestly, as being a coach?
Oh, man, actually, you don't. I called myself having a little break yesterday. But as soon as I get to church, I run across more people who want to talk about football. So, I mean, you just take it. I'm grateful for everything. You just take it as it comes. And I know people excited. I understand. But I'm just trying to, I don't want to overtalk. I don't want to do anything. So I'm just trying to get them to understand. Just be patient and let the food cook.
That's it. Your recipe is there. Let the food cook, man. Appreciate you this morning. Coach, and look, I ain't trying to be them other folks constantly pulling that football at you, man. I appreciate you.
Oh, I don't mind talking, especially I know people want to know. So, when when the time comes and you're supposed to talk about it, I'm ready.
Yes,
because I'm excited.
I'm excited as well, man. I hope everybody out there listening excited, man. That's the voice of Coach Henry Miller. He is the defensive coordinator at Southern University, man. Appreciate you, Coach.
Thank you. And I wish you have on weekends as well.
Man, thank you, man. Thank you.
All right.
All right, let's get ready to take a break, everybody. When we come back on the other end, we're going to continue our conversation with Coach Dawson Odums as we talk about NIL, the collective, this new ever-changing world with the transfer portal, student athletes. Are they honestly student athletes today? How is things and how are they evolving? So you guys stay tuned. We'll be back paying some bills, more to Jaguar Journal.
It's On the Yard Sports, and I'm Perry White, and what I need for you to do is go follow and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter right now.
T.R. Ricks is a fifth-year senior who's getting his first chance to drive the train that Bob talked about. And right now, he's driving it quite well because the Southern Jaguars are kicking butt in the SWAC conference. As Bob mentioned, 6-0 overall in the SWAC, and T.R. Ricks has played so well, over 2,000 yards passing. In the last 3 games running the football, he's been over 100 yards on the ground. The respect factor that he gets from his teammates is incredible. As a fifth-year senior who's never started, they elected him captain. And the numbers he has put up are represented on your screen. 27 total touchdowns on the offense, a pass percentage of nearly 60%. He could be the SWAC Player of the Year on the offensive side.
Best, and they're going to get a huge dose of the best offensive player in the SWAC, and that being Thomas Ricks.
Yeah, what Thomas Ricks has found a way to do is just beat defenses either with his arm, with his feet, or with his leadership capabilities, finding a way to win the games late with fourth-quarter comebacks. He showed versatility and athleticism. He's a tremendous athlete that knows how to win, most importantly.
He really is a leader both on and off the field.
I just think it has come to a maturity level. I have a 4-year-old son, and, when he was born, I had to grow up fast, and, just staying in school and practicing every day, trying to get better every day, just so he can have a better future. It's just been my inspiration. So, I just think that's my motor that drives me and, keeps me in the game.
His 4-year-old son, Collier, has not missed a game this season. They throw the football around in Rick's dorm room at Southern, and he says it's great playing football with Collier. 1st and 10. Ricks. He's got Vernon. Vernon makes the catch at the 45.
They can run the entire offense with all those guys in the game.
Ricks to Vernon. 1st down. Holmes in the backfield. Ricks. 1st down. Gage on the tackle, but not until Ricks picks up the 1st down. 2nd and 7. Ricks. Overstreet's got it. Across midfield. Ricks. As a receiver downfield. It's caught for a touchdown. Territory. Ricks. Fakes the pitch. Gets inside the 15.
He's in the type of young men that represent his philosophy in life and in football.
Ricks in a shotgun. He's going to run it out to the 10. And 2nd and 11 after the holding penalty. Sidearm toss. And a nice catch. Ricks on the 1st and 10. Little draw play. Takes it outside. He's got the 1st down.
But Ricks going to take it up the middle. On 2nd and goal and score the touchdown. Rise, and it'll get cloudy again. And under the sun, Ricks on 2nd down and goal holds on to it for a 2nd touchdown run.
Get open and make play. So that's good ball distribution. That's also passing. They're going for some more, Jim.
And they do get it. Touchdown, Southern. 3rd and 22 to Tom. Ricks. Pretty ball. 1st down. Back like you said, Jay, after the penalty. The blitz. Ricks got hit. Got rid of it. Touchdown, Southern. The 6th annual SWAC championship. Southern trailing by 5. Passes complete over the middle to Amelie Jackson. Remember, it was 4th and 24, and they gave up the 1st. Over the middle. Wide open receiver again. 1st and 10.
It's On the Yard Sports, and I'm Perry White, and what I need for you to do is go follow and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter right now.
Talk about offense, we talk about Southern, and it begins with their passing game.
Tom, beyond potent, we're talking about high octane, we're talking about fast break, we're talking about 41 points a game, some 500 plus yards since Terrence Levy has taken over this offense.
Because that young man doesn't drop any ball.
With the legacy that you started here, you got to feel happy to see it continue on with Doug Williams.
Ball now back at the 22-yard line. Levy, no pressure at all. Touchdown, Ingram. The Bayou Classic. Levy on a first and goal play. Throws a touchdown. Grambling comes with a blitz. Levy steps in the pocket, and his pass is caught. One-handed grab.
Sort of in the middle of the road of the SWAC, but immediately they jump on the Jackson State defense. And here's Levy rolling out. And the pass is caught. Ball is at the 31-yard line. Again throwing the football downfield. Oh, and his receiver Hayes makes the catch. See you later. Touchdown, Southern. If you're going to get, I got some free tickets. Look out for it, brother. Going downfield. Oh, and what a play by Southern.
Score. He's played a lot tougher ever since. And this is a free play for Southern.
2nd and 15.
It's a free play.
Levy completes his
It's
pass.
a free play.
Oh, and he's still up.
It's a free play.
Hayes is going to continue running inside the 10, the 5.
All right, everybody. Good morning. We're back more to Jaguar Journal. Glad to have you guys with me. I am Perry White. Good morning to everybody out there listening on 107.3 FM around the Baton Rouge capital city area, and everybody out there watching on our YouTube and on our Facebook Live. Glad to have you guys. Be sure to follow us and keep up with us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, as well as YouTube. We're on X and Instagram and Facebook, man. Please keep up with us as we continue the conversation this morning. My man, Coach Dawson Odums, is back with me. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, man. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Look, we had it rolling in that first hour as we had this conversation. Had to take a slight detour and talk some Southern football for the spring. But as we get back on topic, man, when we left, we were talking about the NIL collective. Then we brought it down more of our level, looking at the HBCUs with the low resource institution. And you were talking about something big, talking about what's priority when you're looking at where do you put your money. You have money where you can say, well, I'll give it to a student athlete. And at the same time, you're saying we need money because you need things to help improve the facilities. If it's nothing more than a training table, just the simple things. Let's continue where we were with that.
Yeah, I think it's all part of the building process and understanding, from an athletic department, what does success look like for us? And each department is different. What level of success do we want to achieve, and how do we go about achieving that level of success? Is it winning? Is it winning? Is what we want to achieve? Is it financial prosperity? What we're trying to achieve? What are the levels to achieving certain things in the athletic department, and how do we go about achieving those things? Because all of those entities are different. A lot of teams win, and then their facilities stay the same. And my belief is that if you reach a certain level of winning and you don't do anything to sustain that winning, then you will eventually be back to a level of losing. And you have to continue to grow. You think about it, you look at how much money Ohio State spent, and they spent a lot of money, and they made a little bit of money. But at the end of the day, you got to continue to sustain it because other teams are coming for you. And when you look at low resource schools, if one would just step out the box and says, you know what, we're going to change the landscape, how people view athletics and HBCUs. And Louisville, I think, did it when they was first. I think when Charlie Strong was there, Louisville football wasn't really where it needed to be, but he put that program on the map. But the AD had a great vision and said, you know what, we're going to invest in our revenue sports and get them up to speed, and then everybody else is going to come along. Because if we can get our revenue sports up to speed, then that'll create revenue for everybody else. And that plan worked. And then you look at low resource schools. If one take the bull by the horns and say, you know what, we're getting ready to do a major modification to our facilities. And I think the one that's really stepping out to do it is Alabama A&M. I've seen the renderings that they have, and I see the plan that they have up there, and they have an opportunity to really do this thing the right way with what they're building up at Alabama A&M. And once they get it built, again, Generation Z they look at those personal things. That's what they're about. It's not necessarily money, but they look for the Taj Mahal, and that's attracted to them. And they want to be somewhere where they feel like they can grow and develop and sustain winning.
For listeners out there who are the HBCU fans, and for many around the state of Louisiana who may be listening that are on the FCS level, because of course the Southland Conference is right here intertwined with the SWAC. What does the future look like as we see the transfer portal? Everybody seems to be shopping around. So many kids are in that portal. So many of them are going to get lost in the sauce, as they say, that's not going to find a home thinking that their grass is greener. They're going to find somewhere. What does the future look like for that? And then how does that work with recruiting when you're going into that portal?
Well, it's tough, because especially when you're lower tier schools, your better players are going to test the portal. And as a coach, you got to have those conversations. I was never opposed to bringing a guy back if they did it the right way. If they come sit down in my office and we talk about the plan. You're 4 guys better in that family. The more money we give and present, the more problems we're going to have. And the transfer portal is just another one of those problems. I'm 4 guys going in and trying to better themselves. But you got to have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
To go in there blind and don't have a plan, talking about you betting on yourself, I wish you the best. It works out for some and it don't work out for others. But for those guys that are first team all conference, those guys that's got film, they got numbers, they got stats, they gonna always have a chance to land somewhere. And somebody's willing to pay you for your services. But what hurts is those low resources schools. You get a guy that's first team all conference, and all of a sudden, you lose that player. It's hard for us to get an All-American first team all conference player back. It's hard for us to get that out the portal. So looking at that, I heard somebody said that, if y'all take one of our players, some compensation should be granted. And I mean, there wasn't nothing wrong with the statement, but these schools ain't going to pay you to take your players. You just got to look at the reality. And I think that's the hard part for us right now is the reality. The reality is that our low resources schools are development programs for other schools. We're developing players, and other schools are going to come take those players. That's just what it is. They come to take them because financially you don't have the money to give them, or they provide them with what I call the pleasures of the eyes. They giving them better looking things, and that's just how it is right now.
And that kind of leads into the conversation next, because does that then create this new world of that we're the JUCOs? And then I'm using that in that sense. And then because the transfer portal is so heavy, what does that do for the high school football player now?
Well, the high school player got options. And I wouldn't say they're JUCOs, because the way JUCOs have it now, they have it even better because their years don't even count towards NCAA. So you're talking about going to school and developing for 2 years and still having years left to develop and go play in NCAA football. So, but we're definitely development programs. We're developing guys and giving those guys those opportunities to go and play at other places. But for high school kids, here's what I tell them, man. All this prima donna stuff, not knowing where you want to go, if you're not an elite player, somebody offer you, go visit, see if that's where you want to be, lock your scholarship in. And that's how it is, because eventually you may or may not even receive that scholarship. They're not recruiting high schools like that. The transfer portal give you a chance to take a guy that's already developed. A high school player needs to be strong. He needs to have the athletic ability. He needs to have the strength numbers so that he can play as a freshman. Because what happens is most freshmen, once they play, they don't like it, they hit the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
But people are having to win right now. So you don't have time to develop. It's too much money being paid out to players. So what that does is put pressure on coaches to win right now. If you got to win right now, you're going to do it with players in the portal. To build a program, those days are over with. And, that's what we try to do at Norfolk. And it take time to do that. And it take all the time that they grant you, and they got to grant you that time because it's not an easy thing in today's world. But if you can build it, you got a better chance to sustain it, but you don't have that time no more. So whoever gets a job got to go in, hit the transfer portal, find players, and begin winning. You got to have immediate success in today's world, and immediate success don't just happen. You have some great stories, but for the most part, it don't happen like that. And what does immediate success look like? Because if you want a championship right away, then you need to buy you one. And most people ain't got the money to buy one. But that's the world they live in, but they don't have the money to do it.
Hey, that's the realest statement of the morning. If you want a championship right now, go buy you one. That is as real as it get, Coach.
Yeah.
That is as real as it get.
But that's what it takes. You got to buy it. I mean, you look at the college football playoffs, and you take the teams that made that, and the majority of those Group of 4 schools probably spent some money on their rosters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just how it is. And now that we're trying to get the revenue sharing, equal and distributed equally amongst schools, it's just that it's not the rich gonna keep getting richer. And there's no in between. That's what I tell people when it comes to money. There is no in between. You either got rich, you got poor. What's in between is either you trying to become one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's how college football, and really that's how college athletics are working now. People with the money are sustaining success at a high level. People that don't have money are looking for a way to get money. If that's hiring an NFL guy that got relationships and can help come in and create a new fan base, some excitement. And my thing is, if winning don't create excitement, the person you hiring is not. If you've been winning or you've been in a program that has been winning and that don't create excitement for you to go to the next level, nothing else will. Everything else is going to be temporary. It's a temporary fix. A person name, you hiring them. North Carolina's trying it with Bill Belichick. Everybody's excited, but everybody's also waiting to see. Bill Belichick win 8 games. Everybody's going to say, we've been there. We've done that. We ain't hiring him to win 8 games.
Mm-mm. The championship.
So, that's why we hired him, to win a national championship. That's why we increase our collective. That's why we put more money into it, because we did it to win a national championship. We didn't do it for a mediocre season. Same way, the guy that replaced Nick Saban, they don't care where you came from. The expectations is still to win a national championship.
And what it is to me is it's like everybody's throwing so much money out from year to year because they want it that year. Nobody, like you said, with the program holding off and waiting. Everybody's basically gambling. Everybody's throwing it all out on the table right now, and they're gambling, saying, because there can only be one champion. And nobody is excited about second and third and fourth in the stand. Everybody want to be number one. So everybody's gambling away everything, throwing it all out on the table every single time.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because this calculated risk that everybody's taking, the players are the ones that are they're the ones that are gonna fall from it, because they're the ones receiving the money. They're the ones that's got to go out and play. And when you don't perform at a level and we're paying you, that's going to become a problem. Now I got to take your money. Now I got to reduce your money. Now we got to do something else because you're not performing at the level of this money. What does that do to an individual mentally? And I think we're seeing that with the guy from Tennessee.
Yeah, Nico.
That we're seeing that because that's a problem. That's a major problem. And what effects is that going to have on that young man?
Mm-hmm.
We see the effects it's having on Tennessee football program. But how's it going to affect the young man? And I think when you add money to the equation, it's so many problems that you didn't look at when you looked at the problem equations. You looked at the money equation, how it benefits. But what about the alternative problems that come from it? That's why I respect Dabo Swinney so much, man. I got nothing but respect for Dabo Swinney and I have nothing but respect for Clemson University football program and how they run it. And I done had some chances to visit my mentors there and just how they do things and how they create that culture. And people be on him about not winning the national championship. Well, I mean, if he hadn't won one since he got there since 1981. So what are we talking about? But when you have somebody that's doing it the right way, you're going to have cycles to win. You're going to have cycles to win the seasons. You're going to have cycles to when you end the hunt for a national championship.
Yeah.
Injury's going to play a part. Guys may get disgruntled. Guys leaving early to go to the pros. You're going to have some other factors that may hinder you from winning the national championship. But my belief is that if you're knocking at the door and you're doing it with sustainability, eventually you're going to knock the door down.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he's handled the transfer portal, everybody knows, he goes and get a couple guys, but he don't wholesale it. But he's been there long enough to have a sustainable program, and he has a culture in place that he can go find the guys in high school that fit that culture. And he's mixing a few transfer guys in there with it, and he's able to sustain winning. And that, to me, is one part of the equation that's important. But the most part is that the way they develop in young men, the way that you don't hear certain things coming out of their program. Me as a parent, that's what's important to me, is that you hear these young men going to classes. They're not taking general studies. These guys are developing as young men. And that's one of the few programs that's still able to say they're developing young men. And that's important in college and college athletics.
It is. Look, I got about a minute and a half left. As we wrap this up, and I look, I have thoroughly enjoyed this, and the people out there I know are thoroughly enjoying this, because you get to hear from a perspective of a guy who deals with this from a head coach perspective. And then not only that, you dealt with it here at Southern when we were dealing with APR. You dealt with it so far at the bottom of the totem pole where you had to build a team off of walk-ons. Is that even capable of being done these days?
Not with roster management and the way roster sizes are. You may get you a couple that may come in and make a difference, but it's tough now, man, because so much emphasis is placed on winning and winning right away. But APR, that's a whole nother topic, and I don't know how it exists when you're paying players. What you paying me for, to go to class or play football? Y'all tell me.
And that's where it comes down to the original conversation. Am I still a student athlete, or what the hell am I? Because am I going to class? Do I even know what class is at this point? Because especially at the bigger schools, if I'm making this money, what about class? What is it about class, especially if I'm in basket weaving?
I struggle with it because you got a guy that already graduated. He has a degree in hand. He got 1 year to play, maybe 2 years to play, and he still count towards APR when he go to another school. But APR is supposed to be progress towards a degree. Well, if I got a degree, that means I already done made progress.
Mm-hmm.
So everything needs to be revamped from an NCAA standpoint, from a compliance standpoint, on where we are in today's college athletics, because the rules and regulations don't coincide with what's going on right now in college athletics. We got to revamp this thing. We got separation. That we got group of 4, we got group of 5, we got FBS, we got FCS, and everybody knows it's a major difference. You got Division II, you got NAIA, so you got a college football playoff, you got a FCS playoff. Why don't we have a group of 5 playoff? So you got the bowl series, but the group of 5 still can go to bowl games, and they can bid on those bowl games for their playoffs. We just got to look at this whole umbrella of college athletics and say, okay, what we're doing is not working. Let's get a grasp of it, and let's put our heads together and come up with new rules and regulations, because it's not the same, and we can't be under the same umbrella. and we got to get a handle on it because tampering is taking place. People are calling agents, people are calling parents, talking about their kids at another school. Right now, it's the wild, wild west. It's not very good for college athletics, and our students are confused. And when you got confusion, you get 10,000 people in the court.
Coach, man, that's how you close it right there. Appreciate you. Hey, that's the voice of Coach Dawson Odums. He's only the third winningest coach in percentage in Southern history. It's A.W. Mumford, it's Pete Richardson, and then it's Dawson Odums. Coach, appreciate you coming on, man. Look, we always got to show love to those who came here and was successful. You were successful here, and no matter where you go off in life and no matter what you went and did, it's what you were able to do here at Southern University. You brought success. You brought back a championship, and we played for many others. But most importantly, you built a program. Sometimes I say you may have did it a little too easy. They think anybody could do it. But, man, I appreciate you for coming on this morning, man. And as always, you're my dog, man. You're more than welcome. We can continue this conversation any other day.
Hey, appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's the voice of Coach Dawson Odums. I want to thank Coach Odums for coming on this morning. Want to thank my man, Coach Mark Fredericks, the offensive coordinator at Southern University, and Coach Henry Miller, the defensive coordinator, talking some Southern football. Hey, want to thank you guys out there. Be sure to keep up with the Jaguar Journal on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Go to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. You can follow us on X and Instagram, and hit that like button on the Jaguar Journal on our Facebook. Thank you for everybody out there listening on 107.3 FM here in the Baton Rouge capital city area. And for everybody out there, happy Easter to you guys. And I hope you have a safe week and a great week. So I'll be back next week at the same time in the same place. Because always, it's the Jaguar Journal. I'm Perry White. Y'all have a good week. What's going on, everybody? I am Perry White. I'm the host of the Jaguar Journal. I want to make sure that you guys tune in live each and every Saturday morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on 107.3 FM. We also have our affiliates in Alexandria, Louisiana, as well as down in New Orleans. And if you're not able to catch us on radio live, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as follow us on Facebook. It's the Jaguar Journal.